Welcome to the Bro Chat. Welcome to the Bro Chat, where the Afterburn Podcast and the Kodiak Shack Podcast merge. Bringing you all the answers you didn't ask for, where fighter pilots solve all the world's problems and forget to write the answers. Join your hosts, Jeff Vader Brandon and Jeff Bender Page of the Kodiak Shack Podcast and John Rain Waters of the Afterburn Podcast as they dive into all the solutions you didn't know you needed.
We're back.
Who's got this one? Yeah, finally.
Nobody has this one. It's been too long.
No idea.
The Wild West.
Remember the last time we recorded this, like 2 years ago? That's what it feels like.
Yeah, it's been a long time. I was still wet behind the ears eagle driver.
Yeah, look at you now.
Just a terrible eagle driver.
Gray beard.
Season.
That's right.
Season. I think
so
Bender.
much
I think
MQT
Bender should do an
complete.
intro here.
Yeah, his are the best.
Yeah, they are.
Mine are the worst. Like, clearly the worst. They're terrible.
That's
I don't know
why they're the best.
I always expect you guys to edit them out, and then I listen to the podcast, and you just left it in there.
Yeah.
It's
That's
disappointing.
accurate.
And this is part of the intro right now that you're doing. So there we go.
Just all this dead time. Welcome, everybody. We're back. It's been, I don't know, a long time. Since February, that's deep in the winter where I come from. But now it's sunny out here in Utah. There's still snow in the mountains, but not in my yard, which is nice. So anyway, welcome, Vader there and Rain, which is always exciting. We didn't get a fourth guest today because we thought we'd go back to the core bros for just one episode. And then we'll hopefully get together again in a couple weeks.
Yeah.
So what's been happening, fellas?
Man, a lot's been happening. We're finally hitting summer. Thankfully, we went from 55 degrees to right around 90, so that's good. So
I love skipping spring straight to summer.
Yeah, nobody wants spring. That's just where like flowers and nice days outside. Not for me, you know. But yeah, that's what we got going on here.
Oh,
Just shirking my responsibility.
Yeah. Well, you've completed your transition, and going to the Eagle, we probably can more ways than one. But how's that been?
Yeah. Yeah, it's good. MQT complete took a little longer because the Jets, they got to say. Finally, they threw down, which I don't believe it until the Jets are on the ramp. But F-15EX, that's in my future, so that'll be neat. Apparently, I've got to see some cool stuff flying around in the C model. I've been gunned a couple times, which is not my favorite, But yeah, saw the 35 roll up some Eagles in air to air as red air. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun.
I got my good buddy Dave. He should be listening to this. He's a flight doc. He was really bummed when the announcements came out because he's at Barnes, and Barnes is getting the F-35.
Yeah.
Like, he just wants to get in the backseat of a Viper. It's probably any fighter, but I'm saying a Viper. Best fighter out there. So I think it sounds like that's going to be kind of tough to do at Barnes because they're getting the 35, right? And then you guys are getting the EX. Then they announced someone else was getting the EX or 35. I can't remember. They made several announcements. And it's been like
NOLA. Yeah, they're getting the EX as well.
Interesting.
Oh, nice.
So
This is the
is it 2 guard units that are going to get it? You guys and then New Orleans?
in Portland. So Portland was already thrown down. So Kadena, Portland, Fresno, and NOLA are going to be EX someday.
Kadena.
Yeah, I didn't see that one.
Yeah, that's
Like active
yeah,
duty?
So that's what was supposed to. That's why they were getting rid of all the C models, was because they were like, the EX is on its way, checks in the mail.
Yeah, definitely count on that because it wasn't supposed to be like 120-ish jets. But that's be weird. That's a weird balance of like, hey, you get 1 active duty squadron, 3 guard units. I can definitely see this coming to fruition. No issues.
Yeah. Well, so there have been, I'm pretty sure there have already been 3 environmental impact surveys done for Fresno to transition to possibly the 35 or the EX, which the EX should be, if nothing, easier, because it's not a Pratt 220 that just pisses fuel on the ground every time you shut down. So the environment will probably appreciate the GE 129s. But they've already done 3, and it said this is the press release said this is all pending an environmental impact study. And it's like, I feel like that is the like get out of jail free card where they're going to say like, well, the environmental impact survey didn't work out, and then the whole plan's going to change. But
100%.
Either way, they've at least thrown down.
The fact that Vermont and Madison got the 35, because again, environmental impact study in the Grand Arena talk about fuel being dumped on the ground, but just the noise pollution that those two places let that happen is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if it was on accident or on purpose, but it seems like West Coast is kind of EX, like West Coast PACAF, and then East Coast is kind of 35 heavy. So I don't know if there was a reason for that or if that was on accident.
That way you guys can be the leading
They
edge.
all have, yeah.
Yeah, that's right.
We need you to be the leading edge. You got to have that big old hunk of metal out
Getting
there.
trail.
Yeah, so that we cannot be seen. That's the key to 5th gen. It's really
Yeah,
bad 4th gen out there.
Can I not be the leading edge, though? Can I just be in trail of said leading edge?
No, that's not. It's not good for us. That way.
Doesn't work out. I was talking to somebody, and they were saying that they had 35s were running cold. This was a long time ago. This was a few years ago. It might have been Jicto. And 35s were running cold, and Vipers were bonsai. And they're like in the debrief, and they're like, why aren't you guys bonsai here? And they're like, it's way more survivable if we do not trespass Mar. And it's like, yeah,
Valid.
Yeah,
I agree.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man, so good.
it is. We did. You guys remember Red Russell? Did you ever meet? You know Red Russell, right?
Yeah, I met Red.
I mean, he just had his Finney flight last week, and so we did. It was awesome. We did an 8 ship DCA, so cap swap out against 12. I think we had 12 Red Air, F-35 Red Air. Anyway, it was a rager. It was awesome. But I had learned the week prior that I was getting nervous having these conversations. This being recorded. Anyway, I've been complaining this entire time, like 4th gen tactics, like they're money. And then with, okay, you know what? I'm not going to go where I'm going with this until we're offline. But it's pretty interesting. Bottom line, it was awesome. And you
it
can't
worked.
do the things that you used to do, 4th gen, because people, like the sternweds of these things is insane. So you're just like, hey, we're just going to, like, think real small, go as far into their territory as you can, basically. I'm trying to get shot. Anyway, it was awesome. Bottom line, good times. Also, edit this part out if you guys don't mind.
I
Mark the clip.
marked it.
Yeah, mark the tape.
I just need to remember to do that.
I'm all nervous. We just had our security briefings about the Massachusetts Guardsmen or whatever.
Yeah.
Now I'm like,
Man.
I'm not going to even tell anybody I even fly the F-35 because they're just looking for the first person to string up.
Yeah,
I'm surprised.
Well,
there
we
hasn't
had
been-
that same meeting.
Yeah, I was like, I'm surprised there hasn't been a mandatory like CBT that's been accomplished yet. But I guess you guys are doing briefings, so
Oh, we did a
Oh, yeah,
mandatory
Intel.
stand down. Yeah.
Yeah, Intel had like a whole brief, and it was effectively telling you everything that you've already agreed to with your NDAs and
Right.
everything else. It's like, I won't be a complete fool.
I will not go into Discord
yeah.
and have arguments
Yeah.
and take documents from a secure network and then use that
Prove
to
it.
yeah. It's like
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Oh, man.
The slides
That's
did end
great.
with all the people they've thrown in jail, over the past however long for security breaches. I will notice that there's no vice presidents or presidents or
I was like-
secretaries of state that were thrown in jail for any of these kind of things. So.
do you ever
Weird.
one of the I think it was Blitz. He was talking about when he was working on the Hill, just the things that staffers would say openly, because they're not, while they're read into all these different things, I don't know if they fully understand that, like, oh no, you can only say this behind this, 6-inch steel door. They're like, no, just running
They
around.
definitely don't know.
Yeah, texting about it and stuff. You're like, that was anyone in the military, they'd be in jail.
Yeah. Well, and this isn't a spear to security people because I work with a lot of security people, but a lot of them don't really even understand or know like the secrets that they know. Like they're obviously briefed to secrets and they just don't, they like ignore it and they keep living their life. So I can only imagine a staffer getting a 2-hour brief of all this information of varying classifications. And then they're like, yeah, I know exactly where that falls. I mean, I didn't know most of the stuff for like almost a decade of my career to like truly feel confident about like talking about things and not talking about things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's interesting.
Oh, not to shift gears, but I got to apologize to all the Kodiak Shack listeners. I said it at the beginning of the podcast, and I'll say it again. I'm terrible at my job. Rain and Bender know this. But Rain, you'll get a kick out of this. So I got feedback that the commercials that are like embedded into the show were like high. And then I was like, gosh, okay, if the commercials are louder than the audio, I got to pump that audio up. We got to bring that audio higher.
Pump it. Give it some more boost.
So I was creating a bigger delta between the commercial, and so people would run like they'd be running it like lower, and then the commercial would come in like way over the top. And so finally, John, apparently you know him as well, Rain, and he reached out and he was like, "Hey, you're screwing the pooch on this one." And I didn't know. I apologize, everyone. I didn't know there's like a master decibel levels that you're running. And I was above the commercial. So what it was doing was creating, the commercials were like way higher than they should have been. So then I finally set my master audio to the same decibel levels as the commercials. Now I think we're good. But I haven't heard.
These are all
feedback.
the things that are like, I don't know. There's things I know now that, one, I never thought I would know about nor care about. But yeah, you're like, oh, minus 17 lufs. I just don't know what that means, but that's what I set everything to. Right.
There you
That's
go.
the key.
I think it works.
Yeah.
So people probably ears are bleeding and they just haven't said anything. But
Yeah. I don't know, a year into it, Vader. So you learned one thing in over a year. Like, that's a pretty good pace of.
That's better
learning
than
curve.
most things.
Yeah, there is a slope to it, so that's good.
One thing.
One thing.
did you guys see that Viper crash at, was it Osan last week?
I just saw the video from I saw
the
a
video.
closed caption TV video.
Yeah.
Was it it was a ROCAF one, right? Or was it a US?
No, it was U.S. Well,
Oh,
that's
it
at
was
least what a press release I saw.
Oh. Yeah, I saw
Yeah,
the,
you
'cause
did you see the
pilot come
parachute?
down.
Yeah.
Like,
It was
whoa.
like a late ejection, like
Yeah.
maybe like 300 feet, something like that, 400 feet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That looks not good.
Yeah,
Not where you
Ran
want to be.
into
It's better than
something.
being in the fireball, but
that's
Yeah.
true. Yeah, he was well clear of the jet and everything, but yeah, the parachute was relatively low, like in the video. It looked like terrible weather. Not surprising, rain, low clouds. So
Yeah.
I wonder if it was some sort of spatial D or something.
Man, we break a lot of jets in Korea. I'm not sure it's worth the squeeze, honestly. All those young, inexperienced people, and they just like fly in terrible conditions and then crash jets every 8 months. It seems like,
yeah, that's a good point.
because you don't hear about all the class whatever B's and C's that happen like constantly.
Going off the end of the
Over there.
runway, just
Yeah.
things. And actually, I saw Paco had just posted the picture of the Raptor from 5 years ago that had the gear up early retraction. Like, it just flew for the first time this week. That's the point too. It's like, while not all of these things end in fireballs, like they might be all bent up and get put back together again, but it might take 3-4 years to do that. It's not like we have a whole lot of Vipers. I don't think, but I don't know. What do I know?
I mean, they're building new ones. Can we just get a replacement one every time we crash
Yeah,
one?
you should, right?
Block 70s would be
Random
sweet,
block
wouldn't
70s.
Yeah.
God, it'd be so awesome.
Is there insurance on these? Is it like your car? Like, okay, we'll pay you 84% of the value of your F-16.
they? Tax dollars.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah,
It's just
put
tax
that-
dollars.
Just
Pretend.
keep raising the debt ceiling,
Yeah,
and then
it's
it's
funny.
good. You can keep buying as many as you want.
That's right. That's a thing right now, right? They're worried about that.
Yeah.
Debt ceiling.
I think it's coming up next. Is that June? They got to raise it again. Imagine there's some like
Oh, yeah.
ramifications. It's just like, if we had a budget every year. I didn't do my annual tour until April. I wanted to do it in January, but it's like, we really can't do it in January because usually we don't have a budget by that point. So we wouldn't have funding. Like, this is like a known thing every single year. Could we just not just figure this out? No. No is the answer. We cannot.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's brutal. And then, well, for like our wing, whatever the previous year will have gone, terribly because they didn't have the money. So they like guessed where they'd get the money or win, and that was all wrong. So like the next year, like, okay, this year we got burned because of X, Y, Z. So this year we're going to do this, and it should take care of that. And of course, like this year's problems are completely different than last year's. So last year's is still a fireball, and then now we have a new fireball of the stuff that we don't get paid for this year. So it's just like, what are we doing? But do you use Todd C. Rain for your orders?
Oh my God! Yes, I'm just going through that process right now, which I was trying to certify.
I'm terrified to come off of my AGR orders because of that. But
well, and so for my annual tour, I had to use that to certify. But then this whole my FSS transition, which, oh, by the way, too, I probably should ask you, I have an OPR that's supposed to close out at the end of the month that I don't even know now. It's like a narrative form. None of this stuff works. And you go to like the links, like, oh, this website's shut down. It redirects you here. Click on this, and it'll take you to the appropriate thing. And now it takes you to the old website. Like, who does this? Like, they're so bad at their jobs. Like, it's amazing. Like, I know this is not ready. I don't know. I'm going through the process right now trying to certify my orders, and it has been a nightmare. The point where I just don't care anymore. Like, I don't care if this is how bad you are doing.
Yeah, we have like probably hundreds of thousands of dollars of orders that aren't paid out in our wing, and everybody's like, you can just keep the money. It's not worth me freaking going in and trying to chase it down. But I guess like the fix right now is because if you're supposed to like just sign it and then send it, right? And then it emails your commander to approve it, but it gets lost somewhere. Instead of emailing your commander, it just goes to wherever it goes, but nobody sees it. So now they're like, okay, email it to yourself, and if you don't see it within 10 minutes, like this is our new fix because we've been doing this for a year. They're like, if you don't see it in 10 minutes, then print it out, handwrite it all, walk it over to finance. They'll handwrite their part or whatever. And then once you get paid, sometime in the next year, you got to scan it back in, email it to Todd, to wherever, Arrows or whatever thing, so that you can get, because you'll get paid, but you won't get credit for the working the day towards your retirement or whatever.
Oh, I didn't know that. That's all I care. That's honestly all I care about. I just want the credit.
Yeah, exactly. So make sure you keep all the hard copies, scan them in, email them, and then make sure at some point in the next year that it's added to your days that you work towards your retirement or whatever. I'm like, who's got freaking time for that? So now the joke is you get two what are called RMPs, but they're like office work paydays. Like you can use 2 office work paydays for every one order that you're trying to get submitted because it takes so long just to get the thing approved by the commanders or whatever. It is a disaster.
I'm glad we talked about this because I didn't know that. I was like, again, I only care about the points. I don't even care about getting paid. But then too, it's like I don't have time to spend 8 hours doing something that should take 3 minutes. Just mind numbing. The other piece too is I emailed my orders, which has my social security number on it, and I have a different government address now, which also is different with encryption, which I couldn't encrypt it. So I'm pretty sure I'm gonna get locked out because of some, like, oh, you sent personal identifiable information. It's like you gave me no choice, or I'll just use Gmail.
And isn't it yours?
Right. That's like I was forced to forfeit the security piece of it because, but it was my choice.
How is it always this way? How you can build, it's like F-35s. It's all of these things that like are amazing technology, and it's like can't get paid though. Like I can do all the other stuff, but I can't get paid.
This is everyone complains about this, right? But again, let's just say my civilian employer, if they want me to work within a matter of minutes, I can go pick up a trip to go fly, and then, oh, by the way, all the pay and everything, it's done automatically. Like it's in the system. Like I don't have to worry about this or that. And I don't know if I need to log in, I can quickly log in with, an Okta Verify, just like that new FSS has anywhere in the world. And I can do it in seconds and handle whatever I need to do. And apparently our United States military can't figure that out.
That's too tough.
Yeah. And there's like thousands of finance people in the military getting paid to do this.
Right. It's
and
their
there's
job.
Like 7 at FedEx, right? Yeah.
If even
FedEx
that.
Nail it with 7 people. Yeah, if 7. And it's not even ever, it's probably wrong every once in a while, but they fix it, like you said. Like within 15 minutes of noticing the error, it's like corrected. Though the DoD is really good at figuring out when you owe them money. So that somehow happens really fast. So I'm not sure how that goes. Like, oh, we overpaid you $75. We noticed like 3 minutes ago you owe us.
That
Like, okay, I'll just pay $75, but like, oh no, you can't. You can't just pay it back. Like, it's going to take 9 months for you to go through the process of paying back $75. Or we're going to put you in jail.
Did I tell you the story of the guy being sent to collections from DFAS?
Oh, gosh.
So I can't remember.
I don't think so.
He's a fellow pilot. He was transitioning from either the reserves or the guard, AGR to traditional, like one way or the other, right? He's moving units. So he moves units, goes through that whole process. Again, I have talked about that, the fact that like, oh, you've only paid this one bank account for 15 years. Just keep paying that. You're like, nope, you got to resubmit all your paperwork. And again, it's not easy. So he moves units, and then about a year later, he gets a notice from a collection agency that he owes, it's like $27.33. Like he's been sent to collections. It's DFAS, and for those listening, that's the company that handles, or the entity that handles all the payment processing for at least the Air Force and probably all DOD. So miraculously, he's able to get someone on the phone. I don't know how that happens. It probably cost him 12 hours of his life. And she naturally takes an attitude with him that he didn't pay this. And it's like, well, where'd you mail this? And she reads the address, and he goes, can you read that address again? She snidely reads the address again. DFAS was mailing themselves the collection, the overpayment notice to this guy. And so they kept sending it to themselves. They didn't even send it to him, and then like sent him to collections. You're like, what are you doing? So,
That's funny.
yeah. So
World's most powerful military right there.
Boom. You better shake in your boots.
That's right.
oh man, it's always
that's
something.
funny.
It's always something. What can you do?
Yeah.
It would be cool, because I feel like the Guard and Reserves have the same problem. I think people would stay around a lot longer if they cleaned up the rest of the non, like the mission support group side. Like if it was, like I fell off of orders for one day, so like my family falls out of Deers, so they don't have health insurance, and all of our like painstaking efforts to get a primary care manager and to be on a specific like care plan all falls out. And then you have to call and you have to talk to people, and maybe you can control it. I don't know to how I could control it personally, but there's I guess there's Meal Connect or whatever, but it's always a nightmare to get these things done again. And then it's like, oh, well, we don't have your orders. And it's like, but they exist. Like there's somewhere where you can access my orders other than me getting them to you. So yeah, if you're listening, NGB,
Figure it out.
with all due respect, yeah.
My thing is like, doing the Guard and Reserve, right? Like you still have a desire to serve and do something for your country. However, in most cases, unless you are full-time in AGR, it's not your primary means of paying for everything and earning a living and taking care of your family. So it's like, all right, if the flag goes up and you need me, yep, all right, I'll be there, right? That's why you're serving. But when it's not really that, and it's more or less just like admin and maintaining readiness, you need to make it easy for people to go out there and serve and not make it an extra burden. Like in order to go onto orders, that's probably going to burn 8 hours of my life, all this different stress and trying to email people, trying to get it done, which point in case, trying to get onto my annual tour, lo and behold, like nothing works, and it's 4 phone calls, multiple emails, just trying to go to work. Just like the thing you hired me to do, you want me to come to work? Like, make it easy for me to come to work. Don't make me jump through all these hoops to come to work. Like, otherwise, I'll go to my other job that really pays the bills, and it's super easy to go to work. So, that's my thing. It's just, it's so frustrating.
It's maddening. I'm sure it's getting better.
Yeah,
right?
definitely.
Like,
Definitely
we're
is
on a
getting
good
better.
trend. Yeah.
Maybe.
It's
I mean,
scary.
I still file my leave on a 3-page piece of paper. And so that's how I go on leave. I have 3 pages to fill out and
Is
then
that
get
because
it signed by my.
You're new to the unit, or is that like just hasn't caught up?
So if you're not AGR, like an actual active guard reserve person, I think that's what the acronym is. Your leave is like a 988 form. and you like everything is done effectively manually. Like it's a digital, I mean, it's a PDF. So you like digitally fill it out, you sign it, you email it to your supervisor, which as every fighter pilot knows, it's just a bro in the squadron. It's like, hey, you're logged in. Can you sign my leave? Sure. And then you get your leave signed. You send it to finance. And then when you get back, you have to re-sign it. Your supervisor has to re-sign it and send it back to finance to actually close the loop. And then finance is like, yeah, we lost it. Can you send it again? It's like, it's digital. Like it can't get lost. Like it's somewhere out there. But yeah, it's comical because I like Leave Web, like my pay. I have some weird like relic my pay of my active duty time. So I'll like look at that and I'm like, that doesn't look right. And then it's like, oh no, you're not in the reserve side. And it's like, why would I want the old one from over a year ago? But
it's amazing. It's amazing.
Eventually things work out though. Like if I think about DTS, so like our travel voucher. Like when we first got in, that thing was a train wreck.
That's
so,
true.
It took 16 years, but DTS seems to work okay. I mean, it looks like it's made in 1998, but same with like Merc Chat. It's like a chat room from 1991, and that's how all like command and control happens in the Air Force still. And you're like, holy crap, it's awesome. Why not? Though? It's proven.
No concerns. I've
Yep.
questions. I have none.
No, we're nailing it.
I've noticed your video clips and your video for the podcast has been throttled up. What's going on there? Like you stepped into the next generation.
Trying to, this, the podcast platforms don't really show your show to that many people. Like they got to be like legitimately like searching for your podcast, but the video piece between social media, all that stuff, you can reach more people, which I've found success there. However, as I know, editing all this stuff is a pain. I actually really do not enjoy editing any of it. But I was telling you, it's like I found this one program through AI. It's great until it takes over our world, kills us all. But like right now in the short term,
until then, though,
it just goes through and chops up this video. Whoever's talking, it shows their face, and it makes it a lot easier. But so we probably got a good 3-4 months before that happens. So you'll see more clips coming out until AI takes over and kills us all.
Did you? I sent you guys that link. It was Chat GPT, and it said, Chat GPT cannot like rewrite its code. It cannot, and it had a few things that Chat GPT cannot do. Like it can't get angry at people or become, self-aware or whatever. But it said it can go on like Fiverr and like Upwork and pay a human to write that code and to like change it for itself. And it's like, it's gonna like through the internet gonna use humans to do what it can't do itself. And I was like, dang it. Like we are gonna be our own demise.
Yeah, it's wild to see some of the stuff that has popped up. Have you seen? I think a police department was sharing screenshots of Snapchat, and so Snapchat apparently has an AI chatbot in there, and the person was asking, "Hey, what did they say? Oh, where am I at right now?" And it's like, "Oh, I don't have access to your location." Da 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 da. And then it says, like, where's the nearest McDonald's? It's like, boom, the nearest McDonald's is 1.54 miles away. This is the address. It's like, I thought you said you didn't know where my location was. So and then this response was, well, no, because you provided me other information, I was able to get your location. I didn't provide you any information. And then, like, the next screenshot, this person was having this interaction, and the AI is like, my name's Sarah. Like, I have feelings and I'm sad. It's like, it gets real creepy when it's like self-aware. And then it goes out on Fiverr and hires someone to design a robot to put its body in.
Yeah.
Well,
Bender, it was years ago that Jicto sent that article.
Yeah.
That
thing haunts me to this day. I think about that article. I like try to share it with people, and it's like, Rain, you got to read this thing. So I'm going to try to share it with you, actually.
Good, so I can be haunted for years.
But it's like 40 pages. It's a long, like, he's like, just read this article. But it's not like an article. It's like somebody's, I don't know, PhD thesis or something. But it's pretty long. And it's like, it's really eye-opening. And after you read it, I don't know, it's like taking the pill. You're like, I see it all now. But if you just like glance at it, you look like a crazy person. So my family thinks I'm insane when I'm like, I'm like, trust me, it's gonna happen, and it's gonna be Mother's Day cards that kill us all. They're like, what are you talking about? Trust me, everybody, it will be the Mother's Day cards. Like that is how AI gets us.
The best is now you're in that weird realm where you haven't explained enough to the audience, but then
Yeah.
you've explained enough that so you're like,
It's
now
really
where
hard
do
to
you go
find
from
the
there?
article too, so no one will ever know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, they're just not going to do
I'm gonna
Mother's
have
Day
to go
cards.
back.
You probably should do Mother's Day cards
Yeah, it's like
this week.
I'll give you the 30-second. So, like, they're not gonna be malice, right? AI doesn't have feelings or whatever, but it will try to be the best at what you've like given its job to be. So, and it with self-learning, like machine learning or whatever, it'll just get better and better. So that the guy in like one of the examples is you're like, hey, you create this AI to write holiday cards or whatever. And it's like just do your best. And so it's like, okay, I'm gonna write the best holiday card. So it like goes on the internet, it like reads all options that there are, and then it like studies people's handwriting, it studies people's like the way they interact on text messages or whatever. And then it eventually like it just keeps getting smarter and smarter, and then it figures out that humans are like the obstacle in the loop. Like if we can just get rid of the humans, then I can create more of these cards or whatever. Anyway, so it ends up like killing all the humans so that it can create like more Mother's Day cards or whatever for the Earth. Anyway, that's the short version of it, but it's pretty compelling. The article is like, yeah, like all of it is like plausible stuff that could happen. You're like, geez, we are doomed.
And it's not with malice. It's just like, oh, this objectively makes sense, so I'm just going to do that step.
Yeah.
That's the weird part, that you always want to apply like that human, feeling or approach to something, but it's different.
Just black and white.
Is there there any AI, not like it, I mean, there's automation in the plane you're flying now, right, Rain?
Oh yeah.
Like you got some pretty good, like solid automation. It's helping you out.
There is the talk, Airbus, the A350 freighter, I think 2026 is supposed to be ready for single pilot operations. Knowing nothing about it, just pure assumptions that if you're going to do something along those lines, you're going to have some kind of AI integration that's monitoring, if it's two pilots on that plane flying 14 hours, but only one has to be on the flight deck so the other one can be sleeping, or and that guy dies up on the flight deck. It's smart enough to wake the other one up, and I don't know. I think it's gonna keep happening, but there's no AI. It's all your standard autopilot stuff, which is, a 777 weighing 500,000 pounds. If you program it correctly, can fly the plane all the way to landing and stop on the runway. Can't taxi or anything like that, but there's auto brakes. You still have to manually put the switches in the right spot and things like that right now. But you don't.
Yeah, I mean, it could taxi itself. Like that technology obviously exists. Like,
it's just a matter of.
It's just a matter of when they decide they want to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, and how much? Which I think FedEx has spent a lot of money. I mean, all these plane companies are investing heavily in AI and further automation, so you can remove the person.
It would make it cheaper for them.
It would.
Yeah.
More reliable. You're not worried about people calling in sick.
Yeah. But the touchdown for us will be they're going to need, I mean, like my kids aren't going to have jobs, but whatever. Like, I'll have a job. Like, I'll be sitting in an office, like, monitoring 30, Delta airplanes and, like, where they're going. Like, I'll do that from my house. Like, you can still pay me, $1,000 an hour.
Yeah, there's a transition period. They're going to need people for a little while longer until holiday cards or something like that. And they
until the cards come out.
kill us all.
Get a warm fuzzy, though, as you're, getting slayed by the AI machine.
Yeah, no big
Oh,
deal.
that's a pretty nice card. Then you're dead.
Yeah.
How much interaction is there, like when you're on those like long haul, like night or whatever, like flights, is there a lot of interaction just like keeping each other awake? Like how does that kind of work?
It depends on who you're flying with, right? Which most guys, I think so if you're doing a long haul flight, like over 10 hours, you got 4 people, but you're doing like 2 and 2. So you're going to be sitting up there with your best friend for 3 hours, go back, rest for 3 hours, cycle back and forth. Usually the people you're flying with, there's enough there's something new or different that you're talking about or interested, that you'll talk for 3 hours. Maybe you spin the heading bug or put something in or do some performance, to kind of get ahead of the jet for what's going to happen the next 10 hours when you go to land. But usually it's just conversation that you're sitting up there to do it. The ones that are really painful, and it's when it's you and your best friend. If it's under 7.5 hours, it's just you two. So one of the worst like legs in our system is Memphis to Anchorage. It's like 2:30 in the morning, and you're just you and whoever sitting there just trying to like put pencils in your eyeballs to like hold them open, because you don't get a cycle out of the seat. You're just sitting there the entire time. But if it's over 7.5 or 7:35, then you throw a third person in there and you kind of rotate to really spice it up. But we have no Wi-Fi.
That's the good one.
We're not like Delta. I imagine Delta pilots are just sitting up there on Wi-Fi all day long. Because now, I don't know if you guys have flown recently, like Delta, it's like free Wi-Fi for SkyMiles members, like in most of their planes, and it's like fast. So,
Yeah.
little golf clap.
It's been a while. And I don't remember our Wi-Fi in the cockpit allowing us to do things. But I wasn't there very long. And I didn't try very hard because I didn't want to get fired.
Yeah.
But now that I'm off probation and protected by the union, I'll explore that space, see what I can do.
That's right. That's what you want to hear. Your pilots are up front, working for you, people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you got to
Yeah,
stay awake. That's what you want. You gotta.
That's
Yeah,
true.
some.
Step 1, stay awake. Step 2, everything else.
Well, and they're also worried about, someone was saying too, that like on the Delta iPads, like the weather is really good for like turbulence to like make sure like it'll 3D picture like, oh yeah, if you descend down to 28,000 feet, you can shoot through this hole. That's like not as bad. Whereas we don't
Yeah.
really care about that so much.
You
We're
just go through that
just-
turbulence.
superpower coming through and just be shaking the entire time. As long as the wings stay attached. Don't
Yeah.
care.
Never mind those fragile boxes in the back. You're just like, dude,
Yeah, exactly.
do you ever have loose car? Are they pretty good about
Yeah, knock on
loose
wood, right?
cargo?
Because
Is that
the one you see, that 7.4, right? That was out of Bagram that the
Yeah.
MRAPs came
That
loose
load
on.
shift.
yeah, it shifted in it.
Most like on the triple, they can palletize some stuff, and the stuff they usually palletize is there's 1 or 2 pallets of dangerous goods, which if that goes up, like, well, ship sail. But they got someone who, like, as a DG specialist, they spend all their time every day palletizing this stuff. So you're like, that's probably pretty good. It's all the lithium batteries that are back in a container or the dangerous goods that are not declared that someone shipped. That's the stuff you really got to worry about. But if there's like a lithium battery fire, like land as soon as you can. But if you're over the Pacific Ocean,
Yeah.
like I guess they'll
You're just
find
gonna
pieces
ditch.
of the
What's
wreckage.
your game plan, right?
Yeah, it's not gonna end
You
well.
could ditch a 777, right?
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
The-
I mean that thing.
The
You got like 35 feet between you and the bottom of the airplane, don't you?
Yeah, it's rather high. You wouldn't want to fall. They had it was a 7.6. There's video out online. They had it was like the left main didn't come down and it landed at LAX. This is probably like 2 years ago. And so as they're troubleshooting, right, all like the plane spotters hear this going on the radio, so they go set up, and guy did a phenomenal landing. But I think the FO, so in the 7.6, I don't know if this is all 767s, you don't have, it's probably just us. They only have like an escape rope. So they had to go out the window in the escape rope, and I think the FO like shattered his ankle, like going down. Like, it's a big, I mean, it's like, look at the top of your roof of your house and be like, okay, jump off that. You're like, it's not going to end well. But we have the slides, the rafts that pop out of the doors, which was an emphasis item when I showed up there, because turns out people were inadvertently popping the slides each and every time. Not each, like it was like 11 of them, and they're like a tune of like $1 million a pop. So if you inadvertently pop the slide, it's rather
Yikes.
expensive. And supposedly too, it's
Because
one
they
of those-
didn't like.
here's what was going on. Any of the airlines, I think, Bender, correct me if I'm wrong, like the maintenance or the ramp agent on the outside is going to open the door. When the 777 showed up for us, somewhere like, no, we don't want that responsibility. So the pilots would do it. Like, there's no way to physically like pop the slide if you open the door from the outside. So logic would be like, hey, let's just remove that piece of the equation, and we'll just have the ramp open the door so it never pops. But no, like someone in that was like, no, we're not taking on that responsibility. And then, like $11 million later.
Well, now you're going to have a fitness test. There's going to be a rope climb, or at least a rope descent to stay fit.
Some of those guys you fly with, you're like, well, maybe the impact would be absorbed by their cushion. But like, there's no way you'd fit through that window. You would die. You would burn alive here if that was the case. Even the 777 has big windows, but it's like, if someone had to go out that window, there's some guys you fly with, you're like,
You're not gonna make it.
I don't think you're gonna make it there, buddy. It's not gonna happen. So
You got to be like, I'll go first, and then I'll catch you when you.
yeah, I got you. Go now and just run away. Oh man. Well, how's it been going on the Kodiak Shack podcast? Sorry.
Oh, it's been good. We had to slow down a little bit because a lot of irons in the fire right now. But yes, we've been putting out some sweet stuff. I talked to some people. This episode will be out before this airs. But we talked to some dudes. They're doing IDE, so they're like major level education, and pretty solid deals. They're at one of them's at Rand doing like stuff, and then the other one is at the Gordian Knot Center at Stanford. But it's the chief staff. It's some broader like school program, but they all embed at these like super sweet spots, and they're working like they're effectively using all of these locations to kind of work on like the logistical and like battle management, like the physical, like moving equipment around side of like the A5 side of ACE. So the big like question mark on ACE is like, yeah, we can move jets everywhere we want. How are we gonna refuel them?
Right.
Load weapons on them, all that kind of stuff. So they're working through that right now. So there's some pretty sweet stuff. I mean, innovation. I mean, obviously it's going all the time, and there's some amazing tech that people are coming out with. So yeah, it's going well.
Well, ACE, Agile Combat Employment, so being able to disperse your unit and go be agile and deploy and operate in different locations. Here's what kills it: DTS. People can't fill out their travel vouchers and get their orders authorized. So
that's right.
Yeah, I can't send the jets. Bummer.
You come back, they remove your security clearance. You didn't tell us that you were going to this country 45 days prior. Well, I didn't know I was going there until about an hour prior.
Yeah.
It's
the rules. So if it's in the rules, you got to do that.
Yeah.
I joked.
We're.
Sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was just going to say we're going to have to loosen the reins on how we control everything if we're actually going to do ACE, because the whole only your maintenance works on your airplane and only this and only that, and you're like, that can't happen. Like, it has to be
right.
Agile. One team, one fight. Exactly.
Agile.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Agile.
There's a word for it.
The rule piece. So Oshkosh last year did a little tour around the F-35 with Bayo. So the jets are parked. So they got A models and C models all parked next to one another. Air Force, security forces. I don't think the Navy had. I think Air Force security forces was doing all the security for the F-35s there. The jets are pointed north, maybe 40 feet in front of the jet is a chain link fence. That's the airport perimeter. We're inside, obviously. We're doing a walk around. We got cameras, and we're talking. So naturally, security forces, like one of the guys gets too close to like one of the cones. He's like, you got to back up. You can't, lose his mind. Meanwhile, on the other side of the fence, staring directly down the intakes and at the F-35 are 4 photographers with lenses that are 4 feet long. And you're
How
like,
many blades
okay,
are on that thing?
yeah, it's like if you are going to be concerned about someone here would it be the guy with the telephoto lens on the other side of the fence, or, you know, the guy who we've obviously been talking to Bayo and we're conscious of what we're not going to do? Like, no, sir. Yeah, it's 25 feet. That's what's in the AFI, the reg. So this is what it is. That guy's outside 25 feet, so don't have to worry about that. I'm like, this is the stupidity, you know? And like, just, again, it parallels, it goes through everything. Like, oh, well, not my problem.
Yeah.
Agile.
Kind of buff out.
It will.
Yeah.
It's fine. It's fine. Chinese have
We
most of it
so
anyways.
one of our episodes was with the Agile, the former commander of the Agile Battle Lab, which is
Oh, yeah.
ACC's like little cell of like
Yeah.
how are we going to do this, which is it's actually been awesome. So Hill connected with them after we talked to him to be like, what do you guys actually do? Anyway, it's been really cool to see. But one of the things that when they came out to brief, they're like, hey, you know, like writing on the wall, CISA, which I don't, or maybe it's DISA, Defense Information Security, whatever. Whoever runs comm for the DoD, right? They're like, you know, just so you know, like they're not on board with anything that we're gonna do in case of war. So they're like, you gotta like make your own. You have to like solve your own comm problems, like whatever radios you need, whatever internet access you need, whatever like communication you need. Like none of that will come from anybody higher than your squadron level, basically. Like that's ACC's slide is like, hey, the Air Force isn't going to provide any of this for you, even though we have this gigantic organization whose job it is to provide it. Like they're not going to square that corner ever. So like, figure it out. I'm like, well, if we're already writing off, you know, like one of the key functions of a joint force, I was like, that's not going to work. Like, I'm like, yeah, that's not great. So, but there's other stuff. It's not just the comm. It's the same thing with like the logistics, like you guys were saying. They're like, well, you're not going to have, you know, you're going to have to move your bombs and your whatever over to like little places. And they're like, and don't expect any C-17s or C-130s, like, because they're owned by TACC or whoever owns them. Like, they're not going to dish them out. Like, you're going to have to find your own way to transport them. I'm like, what do you mean find our own way to like, there's like 600 miles between where I am and the little tiny island you want me to go to. Like, we can get like a raft. Like, I don't understand. Like, no, think agilely. Like, get it there. Like,
Think
okay.
agilely.
Everyone gets an extra helmet bag of 25 millimeter. You guys have 25 millimeter, right?
Yes.
Is that what it? Yeah. So
Yeah.
carry that.
Yeah.
I don't know how you're
Just
gonna do
contract
That's
it out to the
heavy.
Chinese. That's what we'll do. Like, I'm
Yeah,
sure
that's
China
good.
can solve that problem from us. Like,
I think this is the broader problem with the military is there's people who are very comfortable with taking measured amounts of risk. And there are people who will take no risk. And the problem is like you're always going to be on opposite sides of it. You're going to have people who are like, I take risk every day. I just sit down and say like, okay, that is an acceptable level of risk that I will take. I'll do it. And then other people are like, no way, I'm not getting in trouble for that. I'm not going to jail for that. That's like the standard things. I'm not going to jail for that. And you're like, what jail? Like, I don't, like Leavenworth is just full of comm and contractors, you know, like I don't get it. But yeah, it's, we're gonna, I feel like this is overused, but it's one of those things like you must. Like, it's not like, oh, we need this. It's like, you must do this. Like, just do it. But yeah, we're going to find, well, we may find out.
yeah. we'll
Yeah,
see.
when you're a toad decoy for Bender, when you're out on the leading edge.
Yeah, exactly.
A push
Yeah, exactly.
push decoy.
Yeah, perfect.
Eagle 2, recommit. No.
Like, trust me, it's going to be fine. I promise.
Yeah. No, yeah, I
I'm gonna
swear.
have to have, like, I got 4 freaking missiles. It's going to
Yeah.
last the first 7 minutes of whatever fight we're in. I'm like, okay, give me an eagle.
Yeah.
Somebody.
Yeah.
That's why you-
Well, that's the only reason I'm going to be alive. 5th gen is like, they can't die because they have our missiles. So he's an extension of me.
Yeah.
Oh, we talked to one guy, Bender wasn't able to make this one, but Scar, Ben Timmerman, he was on the Merge podcast too. But Scar is an old Raptor dude who now he works at Blue Force Tech, and they work on combat collaborative aircraft. And that was a pretty sweet one. Like because now the whole thing, like we have this idea of like loyal wingmen and stuff, but they're trying to use these like, there's tons of names for them. There's like CCA is just like one, like, okay, that's a combat collaborative aircraft. There's others that are like training collaborative aircraft. So like TCAs. And then instead of like half your squadron, your whole, like your squadron briefs for the day and half of you are getting blue air, half of you are going to be red air. It's just like, you're all going to be doing blue air. And then you just have these like collaborative aircraft that are going to go out and just fly your red air for you. And then you're like, sick. Like, that's pretty sweet. And then you don't waste all the hours and and the people to fly your red air. You just have it. So yeah, there's a ton of stuff. The problem is, I think the biggest gripe I have, like learning more about innovation, is that there's this like very smooth progression through innovation to a point. And then that point is like a min viable product. Like, we have delivered on everything you've asked. And then the commercialization, the like, okay, we're going to like roll this out. That is, I don't think there is a good smooth path forward. So I think a lot of things that are awesome tech and solve problems, they just die on the vine because they don't get like broad commercialization. So that's it.
Makes you feel good.
Yeah. That's right.
Well, it's interesting to see that
more
when
of
you
the
say
same.
that how the landscape's changed, because I think of just, if you go back to like the 2014, 2015 timeframe with like Draken coming on to be able to provide red air. They were doing like 15,000 flight hour programs at Nellis, which is Shaw's like a 15,000 flight hour, or at least it was. So doing a lot of flying to. Then was it last year they lost their contract at Nellis? It was like overnight, and then like, oh boom, we're standing up an F-35 aggressor squadron. One, just how fast like the threats are changing, but the collaborative piece is interesting. I think the Valkyrie, the Marines just this week with their F-35s. I don't know if Bender, you got anything you can say about it without going to jail or not. This was an open source article, but the Marines were doing all this collaborative stuff with Valkyrie and having it as like its dedicated wingman. I don't know. It's just different. It's a different landscape. It's changing fast. It's like the iPhone showing up,
Yeah. That's a crazy thing that the Air Force, because that Draken contract had like an entire another year of flying on it. And they just said, nope, we're done. Like, I'm pretty sure they still paid it out because it was a contract. Like, it's not that they just turned off the money. And then I think Draken at Nellis moved to Seymour Johnson. And now, because Seymour has like 3 fighter squadrons, like they just fly for them now. And it's like,
yeah. Well, down at Lakeland, where Sun and Fun is, that's like their depot. They bought a bunch of. They have Mirage. They got them from Spain. I was talking to Slick, and he was saying that, or maybe it was the Jordanians. Like at one point, like they bought a bunch of them. They're all containerized, shipped them back over. They got all like the consumables too. Like it was a smoking hot deal. But then like they'll never fly because the logbooks are like non-existent, and it's way too big of a lift to even overcome that to get them to fly in the National Airspace System.
Oh, jeez.
Because I just can't make them like experimental or whatever it is. But they had like a rough year. I don't know, from like losing that contract to.
Who is it that got the Vipers? Is that Acer? Ace, is that what it is?
Because they're out in.
Yeah, I'm excited to see
Phoenix?
those. And yeah, Phoenix, right? Aren't they like retro-fitting them with pretty Gucci?
I have.
Yeah, like nice jammers
Yeah, someone.
and stuff.
I've been Cass Young. I was like thinking of like what they were saying. They have like a AESA radar. I mean, they have gotten some nice tech.
Yeah,
in those
they're
jets.
full up, I think.
Well, that's the F5s too. I mean, Klamath Falls has a F5 red air, and they'll have ESAs. They'll have, I think they can run jammers. Like they even have a centerline gas tank, so they'll fly like a 2.0.
Yeah.
And so you're like a tiny little T-38 that can jam. Like, good luck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's. I mean, you need it, like, because I think our biggest problem was like, it's funny because the C model and the F-16 have exact opposite problems, where the F-16, at least for a long time, was like, okay, we're going to have this threat, and it's got this really big radar cross section, and then it's a bunch of F-16s trying to replicate that, so it's like you're never actually going to be able to fight the real thing. And then now, like, C models and most things are like, all right, the threat has a relatively small radar cross section. C models, go replicate that, and so it's just, it's funny because you're like, yeah, you need a third party aircraft to kind of provide that training aid